Well, hey there, it's Johny-J here, and welcome to another episode of the 3C Show. And as always, it's awesome to be here. Super pumped, here to talk about landscape and nature photography, post-processing, field work, all the good stuff. And remember, everything's over at 3colors.co. That's THREECOLORS.co. And if you're ready to go next level with your landscape and nature photography, come join my community. It's awesome. We have so much fun in there. And today, and by the way, if you want to find out more about that, just send me an email. They'll be below. It's help@3colors.co. Awesome. Well, it's great to be here as always. And today we're talking about the import window. We're following on from our last post-processing video where we talked about folders and folder structure. It was in the last newsletter, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it was about 2 videos ago on YouTube. Just have a search on my YouTube channel, you'll find it there. But yeah, so we're following that. We're going to talk about importing. It's you can do a few things to help speed up your importing process, and also, if you've got time, things like building previews and adding things to collections, it really helps, at the import stage if that's something you want to do. All right, let's have a jump here. Let's have a jump here. All right, let's jump into the import window. I'm a Gumby sometimes. So the quickest way to get to the import window, if you're in the grid mode in the library module, there's an import button down here. But anywhere else, you can go File, Import Photos and Videos, or we can go Command-Shift-I. That should give us the import window as well. There it is. We're over here, and we've got some high key images. I was playing around. I was going for a walk the other day with my young bloke and took some photographs and some photos I had to take in events location. So nothing too exciting, so don't get all riled up about the photography. It's not that exciting. But anyway, it's a bit of fun. All right, so let's get into it. So usually what I say is we want to work from left to right, okay? So you can see left panel, then we've got the middle section, and then we've got the right panel, and that's the way you want to go. So usually if you've got an SD card installed, it'll select that already. But say you wanted to import some stuff from another hard drive, or you wanted to import something from another location, you can click up here and it'll give you some other locations as well, which is really, really nice. It'll give you some locations where you've imported from before. It'll give you some default locations that you can browse to. Obviously, you can jump into your Macintosh hard drive or your Windows hard drive, whatever it's named there, and you can browse down to that. But today, we're just looking at this import window here. And something that's important here, if we right-click, we can say include subfolders. Because if you have a look at this file structure here, you can see there's some other folders in there that's been created by the camera. And that's super important to remember to select that. Often, if you click on your SD card and then you'll see up here, you won't see any photo previews. It'll have a little selection there, include subfolders, and you can just click that and jump in and see the subfolders. Okay, so pretty simple. We're just selecting what we want here, including subfolders. There's another little tick here for it. As always, there's 2 or 3 ways to get to the same thing with software like this, so just find the best place for you. All right, let's have a look here. So we found our location. That's the next thing. Now, what do we want to do? We want to copy them, okay? So there might be reasons why you want to. I don't usually ever use move, okay? Sometimes I'll use add. So say I have a big hard drive, and it just happens to have a whole heap of random photos on, but I don't want to move those photos. I just want to add them to this catalog. That's when I would use add, okay? And you've also got another option to copy as a DNG. Look, it takes a little bit longer because it's going to convert those raw files from whatever format, your camera, for Sony's, it's the file format for RAW is like ARW, and they all have different ones. So DNG is actually an Adobe RAW format, and it's slightly compressed, but it's still, when I say compressed, the file size is compressed, but it doesn't compress the actual the quality of the photo. When we're creating a raw file to a JPEG, that's compressing that and squeezing the pixels, and you're losing information, when you do that. So a DNG, if it's, some people like to use DNG, it's a purely personal preference. Okay, it's an Adobe RAW format, but it will save you space on your hard drive. So if you think you're going to be limited by your hard drive and you're not in a hurry to import your photos, then importing as a DNG is definitely something you can look at doing. Okay. okay? I mean, things like my drones and things like that, they actually use the DNG format as their raw format, the DJI, drones and stuff like that. So it is quite common, it is quite common. And you'll also know when you say merge a HDR or you create a panorama in Lightroom, the DNG format is the raw format that Lightroom will use to create that, which is really nice. So it's nothing special. You're not losing information if you decide to go with DNG. Just think of it as it's going to extend the process of importing because it takes a little bit longer because it's got to convert all those files. But what it's going to do is going to save space on your hard drive if that's something you find is a bit of an issue. Okay. All right, next we've got let's check out the bottom bar. So we've got a couple of options here. Look, honestly, I don't go and choose photos at this point. The only thing I might do at this point is say, I've got a couple of different shoots on here. I might go ahead and deselect all the photos and just choose to import one shoot. That's something sometimes I'll do if I've got two shoots on one card. But most of the time for landscape and nature, I've gone out, I've shot, I've come back, I want to get everything off the card anyway. And I don't make any decisions on my images at this point. I'll just import everything and then make a decision, in the library a bit later on. And that's my workflow. That's what I love to do because I find once you import your images into Lightroom and you build your smart previews, it gets a little bit quicker for you to start selecting your photos. And we might do another little video of how I go through and select my photos in the future, because there's a really cool way in Lightroom where you can smash through your photo selections really, really fast. All right, so bottom bar, we've got check, uncheck, and that's pretty straightforward. So we can uncheck all, we can check all. We've got a couple of different views, obviously the grid view and then the single photo view here. That's a good there must have been a misfire. A lovely photo of some gravel there. Wow, that's real inspirational, isn't it? So of course, we've got some sorting options here. I usually just sort by capture time is really helpful for me. And then we've got this slider here as well that really, allows us to make the thumbnails bigger and smaller. But there's also a drop down here to import. You can save a preset. So say there's something you do all the time in your import window. Okay, say this one you want to build smart previews. Say you want to make a second copy to somewhere else, and say you're doing something. You can actually save this as a preset. So then rather than selecting all the different options down the bottom, you can create a preset for your import window. Not something I do because everything I do is normally pretty standard, but if you find yourself changing these settings all the time, maybe you want to set up a couple of different presets, and you just go here and go save current setting as a new preset, and then you rename it, and then you'll be able to select it from down the bottom there. So that may be something you're into. All right, so let's check out the right hand panel here. Right, again, if you're looking to get your images in really fast, I usually just build minimal previews. I find that's fine for me. But if you maybe have an older computer or something like that, because what will happen is if you've got the minimal previews and you want to zoom in, then Lightroom will have to generate a higher res preview for you of that photograph when you're editing it. Okay, so what that does, it can just slow down the editing process and things like that. So again, if you've got time, you can say, build a standard preview, or usually standard or minimal is what I usually go with. They're the two options, but I usually have it on minimal because I just want to get my photos in and get started. Most of the time, unless you're shooting wildlife where you're taking hundreds and hundreds of photos, then it's okay to just leave it on minimal or standard. All right, so these smart previews are really cool too, and that's something that again, it builds these smart previews of your photos that allows you to view them quicker. So if you've got time, build smart previews is a good option as well. It's not something I normally do, but it's definitely there. Okay. Don't import suspected duplicates. This is really good. So if you've gone out, say, and you've gone and done a shoot, and then you've come back, and then you've gone out again, you forgot to format the card, and you come back and re-import them, you'll see all your photos will be there, but Lightroom will be smart enough to know that you've imported these photos before, so it'll deselect them. So that's quite a nice setting just to have on all the time, because I don't know how many times I've gone out and come back, and then you've done a second shoot on the same card and you forgot to format it, but that's okay. Look, there's no problems there. You can certainly do that. Okay. All right. So let's have a look here. Make a second copy. This is really good too. Storage is really cheap these days, and if you're not a person who has something like Backblaze for backup, or they don't use Time Machine, or they haven't got some other way they're backing their images up, this is a great way to do it. You can just make a second copy, and you can have this always on, and then you can have a big hard drive, a big slow spinning hard drive attached to your computer somewhere or your network, and then you can make a second copy of your photos on import, which means all your raw files are being backed up while you're importing, which is quite a good workflow. So if you don't have a backup strategy, that's definitely something to think about to include in your backup strategy. And if we hit this little triangle here, it'll just bring up, our browser window, and we can select where we want to save them. So obviously, it's no point making a second copy to the same drive that you're copying these images to, because that's not a backup, right? Okay, so we need to set that to another drive, and that can be really, really good. Now, this is fun too. If you're a big collections user, you can add stuff straight to collections at this point. I can create a new collection. I can add it to a previous collection. It's really nice. It's not something I often do, but look, if you're a collections person, and some people really love their collections, for me, I'm creating a new Lightroom catalog every year, so I have pretty clean catalogs, and I keep my file structure pretty accurate to every year. So accurate is the word. Pretty religiously have the same file structure. So I don't use collections all the time, but if you do, then this is a great way to do it. File renaming, again, there's no reason really to rename your files. Sometimes I'll rename my files when I export it if I'm working for a client, but it's not something I normally do on import. But look, it's there if you want it, okay? So that's something that's there. Apply during import. Again, this is applying, different metadata presets, or you can apply a look on the way in. Look, for landscape and natural photography, definitely the developed settings. It's not something that we would ever use. You want to go in and you want to have custom control over every photo. We don't want to create a black and white for every photo, or something like that off a preset. So, one thing that is nice about it, maybe you've got a standard preset that's, pulls the highlights down, that opens up the shadows, that adds a bit of sharpening, that adds your vignette. So you could apply it at this point, and you could apply it to all your photos. And if you've got something generic like that you do for every single photo, then you could create that in the develop module and apply it at this point. So sometimes I've done that, and sometimes for work I've got like a standard preset that's sort of like my starting place. If I've got loads and loads of photos, and what it does too, it sort of gives you a bit of an idea of how your photo is going to look with the minimal develop. Obviously every photo is a little bit different, and you have to go in and adjust that, but look, it gives you a starting point. So that is definitely something to think about, okay, if you want to try doing that. I don't usually change much of the metadata, but you can certainly add keywords at this point, and keywords is a great way to find photos. If you've got a really large catalog, you can search for those keywords, and at this point, so for these I might put high key, I might put beach, I might put flora. Some of those sort of keywords would help me search for these photos again in the future, and that's definitely something that can be really handy, that keyword box there for sure. So destination. So here's where I choose where I'm going to stay on my photos. So you can see I've got my 2020, Photos 2020 master folder there. And inside of that, I might put something like, high key. And I think it was at Boat Harbour. I don't know if I could type. Got my big mic in the way. That's why I'm not typing. Anyway, you get the idea. It's not Jai key, it's high key. If I could type properly. Anyway, you get the idea. And what it's going to do, you can see down the bottom here, it's given you a preview that it's going to copy these photos, it's going to create this new folder and add it to that location. So that's really cool, and it's really handy. So usually in my file structure, remember as in the last one we spoke about, I might have, Photos 2020, and then I might have, all my folders with different locations under that. Well, you can create that location folder at this point at import, which is really, really nice and really speeds things up, which is nice. And then it's just a matter of course hitting the import button, and it'll go ahead and apply those settings and import those photos that we've got checked here, which is really, really cool. Now, something I wanted to show you really quick, if we right click these areas, if we right click, say, one of these areas here, let's just see. Yeah, there we go. So if I right click these areas, you can see I can turn some of these panels off. So say, file renaming is something you never ever use. I can just right click and turn that off, okay? You've got these little disclosure triangles, but I can just right click and turn that back on. which is really, really cool. The other thing that's nice too is there's this thing called solo mode. All right, if I turn that solo mode on, what's going to happen every time I open a disclosure triangle, it's going to close the one below it. Okay, and it's fine on this type of window, and this works in every panel in Lightroom, so this is another little bonus tip here. But solo mode is really cool because it means I can open this one, and then open this one, and then open this one. And you could imagine if you're on a laptop or a smaller screen, you'd have this big, long list of columns that you have to scroll up and down, but it allows me to quickly jump between these different sections and check the options, and it's really nice. You know, it's great in the developer module too, solo mode. So that's it for this one, guys. That's about usually what I do for my workflow of importing. And of course, if you've got any comments, questions, feedback, anything you'd like to add, please comment below this video, or you can send me an email at help@3colors.co. And remember, if you're ready to go next level with your landscape and nature photography, check out send me an email and let's talk about how the Team 3CX landscape and photography community can help you. And it's super cool, with so much happening in there. Masterclasses every month, assignments, personalized feedback on your photography with me. And we're about to start a new group chat. So a weekly group chat. We've got a new community platform where we can all jump in, have a chat, share photos, share your screen, and really help each other grow together as a little community. And I'm really loving that. I think the new platform we're on is just awesome. So anyway, if you want to find out more about that, help@3colors.co, send me an email and let's chat. All right, guys, that's it for this one. And of course, if you've got any other comments, feedback, questions, need help with something, just get in touch, help@3colors.co, and I'm here to help you with your photography. All right, guys, that's it. Mad love from Johnny, and I am out. So peace.